I'm thrilled to be joined this afternoon by best-selling author, activist, and actor, Busy Phillips. Today's conversation is part of a series of virtual briefings Politico is hosting in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. We'd love for you to participate in this conversation. So if you have a question for Busy, please tweet Politico Live with the hashtag #RuleWithUs, and I'll try to get to some of those audience questions at the end. Well, all right, let's get started. Busy, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, it's nice to be here. Thanks. My house.
I have to confess, I am a big fan. I've read your book, followed your career, and like a lot of members of our Women Rule community who messaged me about this conversation, excited about it, follow you on Instagram. So just thought we should get that out of the way in the beginning. That's not typically how I start, but you know.
Okay, well, that's nice. That's always nice to hear. It's much better than that, Anna. I don't know who you are. I don't know why we're here, but what do you got for me?
I love it. Well, normally we would be in the same room, kind of talking in front of a large audience, but today I'm in my house on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. You are in your house in L.A. Give us a sneak peek kind of behind the scenes. What's your day-to-day like been during kind of this shelter at home period?
Oh, well, let's see. So we actually started a little bit early because I flew back. I was working in actually DC and New York, and then flew back on March 11th and decided at that point, my husband and I talked that I got home the night of the 11th and we just decided, well, let's call it. And because if I had brought it back, we didn't want to expose anyone. So we didn't send the girls to school starting then that next day, the Thursday. So Thursday, Friday. So, and then California started the following Monday, I believe. So we got a little bit of a jump start on it. And, I have to say, like, the girls go to two separate schools. I have two daughters who are 6 and in first grade and in 5th grade. And their schools have really managed to pull it together quickly. They do go to private schools here in Los Angeles. And but I've talked to other friends of mine who have kids of the same age, and like, I can't even tell you, like, it's been a lot more difficult for a lot of my friends with their kids. So we're given a lot of support in terms of the homeschooling thing. And then we just, our days are school. I try to keep a routine. I work out every day. That's, for mental health. I try to take an outdoor time. It's hard when the weather's bad. I don't know what it's been like in DC recently. But it was raining here for 5 days in a row in the last month. And that was incredibly difficult for everyone's mood. And, like, work has been very difficult for me to accomplish. And, I try to just get through the schedule of the day. Having the kids have their schedule really helps. And having to be so participatory in their schooling, I think also really helps. But between all of the like cooking and cleaning and chores and trying to keep the house in order and trying to do the homeschooling and then answering emails for my own work or trying to work on creative projects that I owe people seems truly impossible. So, I don't know, I'm giving myself a pass on that stuff.
No, I think it's interesting because I feel like so many of either just talking to girlfriends or family members or kind of even in some of the conversations we've had every week with the Women Rule community, that kind of sense of juggling so much more than we even already always do. But then this energy zap, right? I mean, I think there really is something to just, I don't know exactly what it is, but I mean, just being like exhausted at the end of the day. I'm sleeping more than I've ever slept. I mean, it's hard to kind of have that motivation. I mean, besides kind of, especially in the creative world that you kind of live in professionally, I assume that that's kind of a hard hurdle to get to some days.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of weeks into the isolation, quarantine, whatever it is, I recognized the feeling, and I know you don't have kids, as new mom brain. And that was like, and I posted all these Instagram stories like, guys, I figured it out. Collectively, everyone has new mom brain. When you have a newborn, the exhaustion that you feel isn't just that the baby's waking up all the time. It's this whole part of your brain is taken over all of a sudden, and you haven't planned for it, with this very primal thing that you have to keep this tiny person alive. And it permeates everything that you do. So that's why the exhaustion feels so overwhelming. I think that for especially the first few weeks for everybody, the exhaustion of just, are we okay? Am I okay? Is my family okay? Are the people I love okay? And did I wipe down everything enough? Did I do the right thing? Like, all of that part of your brain focused on that subconsciously all the time is exhausting. It's draining. So yeah, it's been an adjustment for everyone.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I've noticed, you've engaged in quite a few different ways of trying to help giving back, making masks for your local grocery store and other charities. Can you talk a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing kind of from your house, but where you're trying to give back during this time?
Yeah, I mean, I sit in a place of privilege, and even though career-wise, my industry is very much in flux because of what this virus means for production and what it means for the continuation of making, movies and television shows, certainly in the next, year to 18 months. I don't know what that's going to look like. And that is the source of income for both my husband and myself. So even though we have that sort of feeling, we are, obviously incredibly privileged in so many ways, and we are able to monetarily help support a lot of organizations and charities. I have been very focused, I would say probably mostly focused on food, like both both res both as most like everyone in the country has been, but both making sure that people have food through organizations like No Kid Hungry and World Central Kitchen and Feeding America and America's Food Fund that was started by Lorraine Jobs and Leonardo DiCaprio. And then small independent restaurants. I am a person who loves to eat out. I'm passionate about it. I grew up in a house with two working parents, and at some point my mom was like, this is too difficult, I'm not cooking anymore. And we just would eat out every meal. So like my entire life, that's how I existed. And then as an adult, I really, we live in a great food place. We spend our summers in Charleston, South Carolina, another great food city. And it's something my husband and I love. We're friends with a lot of local chefs. We're friends with a lot of people who work in restaurants, who I'm friends with a lot of people who are performers, who are servers. I worked as a hostess in a restaurant when I was in high school and then in college before I got my first TV show, Freaks and Geeks. So the restaurant community is a community that I deeply feel a part of. And we know that they're just getting obviously hit so hard with this. And so, I've been looking for ways to try to help support restaurant workers. And my friend Jessica Coslow has two restaurants here in Los Angeles, Squirrel, and then another restaurant called Onda that she recently opened. And she called me sort of early on and was like, I want to do a restaurant worker relief program. And I was like, sure, I got you. I want to give a lot of our own money to you for that. So we're continuing to do that. And once Nancy Silverton had to shut down the Lee Initiative feeding out of work hospitality workers out of Mozza because she tested positive for COVID, the Lee Initiative then went over and partnered with Squirrel. And so that was one way that I feel like we can were able to help, and getting the word out about those things. And then additionally, I just had this, do you know what Cameo is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I kind of didn't know. I got to be honest with you.
You should explain it to our audience, because maybe there's other people that don't.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I like sort of vaguely knew about it, but it wasn't something that was on my radar at all. But basically Cameo is this app, a service that was started where celebrities, you can pay celebrities a set amount of money, and they'll record a message to you or your friends. And I mean, you know, I just sort of didn't think it was, I mean, I never would want to do that just to make money for myself at this point. Like, I have no shame in anyone hustling. I'm a fucking hustler myself. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but I am, like I'm a hustler. I get it. But it just wasn't something that I felt like I would have time for. But here I am. I have minutes in the day in between classes and cleaning, and also while I'm cleaning. And I thought, well, what if I did Cameo and all of the money went to charity? And so I started, I did that on my Instagram story, and someone from Cameo saw that and then reached out to me through my reps and said, Busy Phillips said that she wanted to do Cameo for charity. So,
ready.
But then I thought, why not? So I started doing it, and I feel like I made my price very reasonable because I just wanted people to be able to give to charity. And so far, I'm over $20,000 that I've raised doing these cameos. And yeah, and it's all that is just like additional money that's going to No Kid Hungry and World Central Kitchen and America's Food Fund. So, that's been amazing. And then, yeah, I started sewing masks because a friend of mine early on sent me a tweet that the actress Hillary Burton had put up about how she was making masks. I'm not a great sewer. I'm lucky. I know how to use a sewing machine well enough, and I have done some projects for my kids. But so I was like, well, I'll try. And so I started making masks. One of my good friend's husbands works at a local Trader Joe's. And I was sort of horrified at the onset of this. I'm horrified by all of it. Let's not be, in the lack of PPE and masks for our healthcare workers and people on the front lines is truly, truly insane. But also the lack of protection for people working in the service industry, to me, was also, and the post office, and unacceptable. And so before, Trader Joe's now has actually provided masks for all of their employees. But before that had happened, I thought, well, I'll just sew as many as I can for his store, for my friend's husband and his coworkers. And so I started doing that. And then I was real slow. You're sewing masks too, right? Have you sewn masks?
Together. This is bad because my mother actually taught home ec for high school. So I feel like hopefully she's not watching this. She'll be shame me later about how I should be better sewing. But yes, we've been doing some mask stuff as well, mostly contributing and sending them to people instead. But no, I think it's one of those things where it kind of you take kind of a little bit of the power back, right? You say, like, what can I do? I'm not a doctor, right? Like, I'm not going to be a frontline person. And, for me, that's continuing to get up every day and deliver the news for, the people who need it. And sometimes, spending 10 hours talking about the coronavirus is, it's a lot to take on, but doing things like that, I think kind of are little ways to take your power back a little bit in these situations where you don't have much control.
Yeah. And I've paid for meals, sent meals to different hospital workers. And I have a good friend who's a nurse at Cedars. And, I'm just trying to reach, I've whatever. I don't even want to say that's online. But I've literally just sent Venmo'd random people money. Do you know what I mean? I'm just okay, I can't, I'm not going to do the research, but I believe you that you need $50. You know what I mean? I just, I think it's just a time where you have to kind of allow yourself to just look at all the different myriad of ways you can be of service and helpful. A friend of mine, I'm friends with so many incredible women who have small businesses. Tons of my friends have small businesses, are designers, jewelry designers. I mean, no one's buying fucking jewelry right now. Sorry, I keep swearing. No one's buying jewelry. Clothing designers who've built their businesses over, the last 20 years of our lives. My friend Stacy from Charleston, who has built her retail business by herself over the last 15 years and had just opened her second shop on King Street 2 days before this happened. And so trying to like highlight those people on my Instagram for people who are fans of mine or who follow me, who maybe are like, I actually am okay. I work at, whatever, my job's secure and I would like a new dress. I don't know, but I just felt like maybe that would be helpful. A lot of my designer friends have started making masks and I'm trying to highlight them. My friend Heather Taylor, who makes beautiful home linens, is doing a 1-for-1 mask thing and she'll make a 10 pack. And so I bought 50 and my 50 went to another grocery store that's local. And then the 50 she donated went to medical professionals. So, it's like, it's not just one thing. You can't sort of focus on one thing. You have to just kind of like spread it out as much as you can and see where it goes,
No, absolutely. I want to take a step back a little bit. This is not kind of the first time you've gotten active on civic issues or political issues. You've been pretty outspoken on abortion, participated in DC, and I think I saw, on the Supreme Court steps, giving a pretty fiery speech about a woman's right, actually testified on the Hill. I just would love to go back a little bit because I imagine as a public figure in an industry, as an actress, as somebody in Hollywood, where companies might not want to potentially do projects with you, or your next job could be, I assume, kind of at risk if you are pretty outspoken. How did you decide to get more active?
Oh, well, I don't care about working in Hollywood, so.
Well, that's helpful.
So it's helpful. No, I mean, I really don't. I don't care about being an actor anymore. It's not like something that really is that exciting to me. So I'm not like out there banging down doors trying to get hired. Any acting jobs that I do at this point are just because I love the person and love the project and want to be involved. But yeah, it's not my driving force. But that being said, I do partner with brands a lot. My personal Instagram, which I have built and always run myself, sometimes to my own, I don't know, exhaustion when I'm partnering with brands because it's like a lot to keep straight sometimes. I will say that I have found that especially in the last 4 years, most brands are really on board with not just people that they partner with having a perspective and a point of view and being, authentic is like the big buzzword, right? Well, part of authenticity is standing for something. And that's how people know that you mean what you say. I mean, if you're sort of all over the place and you never really say anything substantive, why would they take your advice about face cream? I'm serious. So I think that, in all the brands, I would say there's also in my work with See Her, which is the initiative from the American Advertisers Association to have more representation of diversity and women across advertising. I would say that most of these brands at the higher levels and most of the agencies are really interested in making sure that they're on the right side of history in terms of this particular time politically.
Talk a little bit more about that. I mean, you were one of the early adopters of Instagram, kind of behind the scenes. I think I read a story in preparing for this interview about how, you liked it because it wasn't just going on a talk show and kind of being something that for a movie premiere or something. Talk a little about how you decided to get involved with that.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like a calculated thing. I just, had time on my hands and it was something that I felt like as I did it more and more, I felt, a connection with people. And I also, think that this is why we're all sort of driven to social media to begin with, is that we all just have this longing to be seen and heard. And, that's what at its best it does. And I really, yeah, I did feel like in my years as a performer, I was definitely sort of pigeonholed, or, interviews and press could be so reductive in terms of the way that they wanted to view you and what you were. It was just so much easier for a journalist writing a 200 word profile on you to just make it kind of reductive and whatever the idea that journalist had walking into the room when they're meeting Lori from Cougar Town or, whatever. So social media has given all performers and actors that choose to participate in it an opportunity to really show, as much or as little as they want. It can be as curated as some people's, and it can be more sort of, fly by the seat of your pants like mine is. Like kind of showing everything. Oops, sorry. But I just, I feel like I found so much freedom in it because once I did start, partnering with brands and working with advertisers through Instagram, it cut out the middleman of needing to be on a network television show and making that money as a performer. And, but also having the direct line to your fans is so valuable. I mean, I'm sure part of the reason why my book was a New York Times bestseller, and for publicity purposes, I think that obviously, when brands and studios and networks look at a person's reach on social media and their engagement, they want to see that they have this community that they've built. And I feel like I've, built this community out of a very genuine, like, not because I wanted some sort of monetary compensation for it or wanted it, studios to look at me and think that they should hire me for some bad movie to be someone's best friend with like 3 lines. But rather I really genuinely liked having the connection and the outlet creatively. And and it's been really beneficial for my career and just also, I guess, me as a person.
We are quickly running out of time, but I do want to ask you a little bit about Hollywood. You mentioned kind of your shift in terms of focus from actor to other projects. Your best friend, Michelle Williams, has spoken out pretty publicly about pay inequality in Hollywood. The Me Too era is obviously hit Hollywood, as well as certainly journalism, politics. Where do you think, have things changed quite a bit? Is there still a long way to go in terms of kind of women being on equal footing with men in Hollywood?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's a little bit, that you got to build your own damn table of it all. I don't particularly see huge changes being made at the very top levels. Right. So, I think that when you think about representation and storytelling, you have to look at who's making the decisions about what stories get to be told. And that's a huge part of what dictates the television and movies that get to people. When my talk show Busy Tonight premiered last year, a year and a half ago, whenever it came out, there was a kind of snarky review from a man, a television reporter, who called it baffling. And we loved it. Casey, my creative partner, and I loved that, what he thought was like a snarky thing to say about the show, because it must be baffling for like a 48-year-old white dude to see something that wasn't made for him. But the truth is, the people making these decisions by and large are making decisions about things that like they don't find baffling. There are very few network and studio executives, I think, who have the ability to say like, I don't really know what this is, but someone's gonna. And those are the places where I think the change really needs to happen in order for us to see like a true, democratization of the media that we consume on a mainstream level. I mean, obviously there are so many ways for people to make content, and now it's this quarantine content is so fucking over. I'm so sorry I keep swearing. So happy to talk to an adult. Anyway, but like, the quarantine content is so overwhelming. I have zero interest in watching anyone's at-home talk show or, slap together thing. But I think that there's an opportunity still in sort of mainstream media to make a real change. And I haven't seen it yet. And I haven't seen it even when I read the trades in terms of the shows that are getting bought, picked up, the things that are getting greenlit, I don't see it. So I don't know, but I don't know.
But change I mean, it's interesting. Even in Washington, right? You've had this big wave in the midterms of more women being elected. But I think the question, to your point, I think in all things, right? It's like, who's actually the decision maker? Who's actually kind of at the top of the food chain? Because it oftentimes that's where the real.
But that's also why I feel really strongly about this See Her initiative that the advertisers have put together, because here's the deal, like it's all money, it's all run by money. So if the advertiser, if AT&T says to NBC or Universal or whatever, look, your programming has to be completely even split, like female focused, whatever that means, whatever, we have to see representation and 50% and female showrunners and it's absurd to me that in my over 20 years in this industry, the first time I worked with a female showrunner was when I did my own talk show. And I've worked with great men. Whatever, they're fine. You know what I mean? but when we were hiring on our show and making decisions on bringing people on board, very frequently, we had really incredible statistics in terms of, we were creatively 90% women. And we were, our diversity was, like 73% or something like that. I mean, we really good numbers. And people would say like, well, how did you do that? We're like, we just hired the people we want, hired the people. Whether we saw everyone, we took submissions from everywhere, from Twitter, from Instagram. We took submissions from people who didn't have agents, whatever. And then we hired people who maybe didn't have the title, because it's television, it's not brain surgery. And the gatekeepers would like everyone to believe that like making entertainment is brain surgery, and it's really not. You can give people shots, you can give women and people of color opportunities, and people will rise to the occasion. And the truth is, just industry wide, the industry has always been willing to give young white men those opportunities and not women or people of color. So, that's, whose kid is that? I hear a kid. Is that mine? And I was like, it's not mine.
I just want to ask you one quick question before I let you go. Can you give us any sneak peek what we should be looking for in terms of what you'll be doing next in the next, besides, living this pandemic through it as much as we all can?
I know, I'm sort of like, I have to, we have to regroup. My business partner, Casey, she was my partner on Busy Tonight. We've been working for the almost a year on a project. And then this really got the quarantine, the COVID, it all, well, here we are. So it's, we're going to be doing a podcast that we're also shifting the focus on. We were launching the podcast in June, and we may move it up a little bit because just things have shifted so much in terms of what our business plan that we were working towards and what we were doing, that now I feel like it might be interesting to start the podcast now, but just to do sort of like a real time of it. As you follow our journey of trying to get this thing off the ground. So I've been working on that, and then, some other projects creatively and writing and first grade.
The fundamentals, it all goes back to the fundamentals.
And, first grade social studies project.
Oh my goodness, I appreciate it. Well, Busy, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. I know it's coming at an awkward kind of time, but this was really fun. I know our people that tuned into this, I'm sure really enjoyed it. I want to thank those who did tune in. It was great. I'll be back next Thursday with a Women Rule virtual event with Sally Krawcheck, who heads up Ellevest, and to talk about the economy and women and kind of using your earning power and how to kind of navigate these trying economic times. If you don't already subscribe to the Women Rule newsletter, please text RULE with us to 66866. Have a great rest of your day, and please stay safe and healthy.